Bobby, Craig, and Evan, how have you been, sir?
Well, I've been, a little better than I am today for sure. But let me just say this, Craig. I'm so glad you're back. I love hearing you. Any chance I get to hear you makes my day. So you're brightening it up right now.
Well, I appreciate it very much. I know this is a tough day, a day you knew was coming based on his health recently being in the hospital.
Yeah.
But you go back 50 years with Tommy Lasorda. I just wondered for you, on a personal level, can you put into words why he was so special and how he captured so many people of so many different ages, imagination?
Well, mainly I think, Craig, because he wanted to share his entire life with the whole world. Tommy would stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning in Detroit, Michigan, in a little cafe that was still serving some pizza. And everybody who was coming in and out of the place would have an opportunity to sit down and take a photo with Tommy, hear one of Tommy's stories. Tommy would eat out every night that he was on the road. And he never ate alone. He ate with many people. And he became either infamous, famous, notorious, whatever it is, for never paying for any of those meals. But the customers of the restaurant all were able to come over to Tommy. He never wanted the private room. He wanted the table in the middle of the restaurant. And he would tell stories all night long. He would eat all night long also. But he'd captivate people. And he was able to put on a jogging suit or put on a tuxedo. And wherever he went, he fit in. He fit in perfectly in the White House. He fit in perfectly at the black tie affairs of the Italian American Sports Hall of Fame or other places that he went in, and he fit in perfectly throwing batting practice in Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic, and kibitzing with the ball boys who were shagging in the outfield. He was an amazing connector of people in life.
He was a real celebrity. He was and really unique, considering he was a manager. Although he did play, when he was younger, he was not a player. He's not a superstar Hall of Fame player. As a manager, he became a celebrity in a time when that just didn't happen coast to coast, which is really a testament to his personality and his willingness, and probably his desire to be famous. Yeah.
Yes, I think you're exactly right. I think Twitter was around in 1966, he probably have 20 million likes, or followers. He liked the idea of being famous, but he liked the idea of being famous because he was good at it. Because when he left the room, people felt better. When he left the clubhouse, people felt better. It was he had a unique way of remembering people's names and faces, of understanding their situation and telling a story that might relate to whatever the heck they might be doing, whether they're looking for food on the street. I walked the streets of New York City where people would stop and recognize him. And in the 70s, when people were on the streets panhandling, a lot of the people who were asking for money would ask for an autograph from him instead. It was incredible. He was unmatched in his ability to be recognized, one, and then appreciate or to have the person feel good about recognizing him.
We're talking to the great Bobby Valentine, the passing of Hall of Famer Tommy Lasorda. What do you remember about the first time you met Tommy?
Oh God, the first time I met him, I was sitting in the stands at USC. I was 17 years old, being recruited to play football and baseball. flying out there from Connecticut, and I was waiting to talk to Steve Sagi, who was their catcher and quarterback. He was the guy who handed off to O.J. Simpson those years. And because he played two sports, I was waiting to talk to him about playing two sports. And Tommy was scouting the game, and he came down the stands, and he tapped me on the shoulder, and he asked me if I was Bobby Valentine. I said I was, and he said, listen, the Dodgers really like the way you play, and he gave me a transistor radio with Dodgers on the front of it. And he said, don't let anybody know where you got it. And I said, yes, sir, thank you very much. So that's the first time I met him. And then fast forward about 3 weeks later, I signed a letter of intent, but I signed a professional contract with the Dodgers. I was the number one choice. And I flew out to Utah to play rookie ball for the Dodgers. And when I got off the plane, a guy was waiting for me. He looked a little familiar. He shook my hand and said, by the way, my name's Tommy Lasorda. I gave you the radio at Bovard Field at USC, and I'm going to be your manager this year. Yeah, so that's the first two times I ever met him.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I talk about celebrity. I remember as a kid watching, the Johnny Bench baseball brunch, and Tommy was like the wizard on that.
You remember the wizard?
He was the wizard on that show. We talk about ambassadors a lot. And I don't know that there is a baseball ambassador today, a guy that cut through like Tommy. I think as a broadcaster, Bob Costas is probably the closest thing we got over the last 20, 30 years, who you just know Bob loves the sport of baseball. Tommy was clearly that guy. And I wondered, when you guys would spend moments alone, whether it's on the road, airplanes, restaurants, was it always about baseball? Or did Tommy have opinions and want to talk about world crisis, this and that, or was it always baseball?
It was always family, whether it was his family or your family, and baseball. He didn't go outside of his lane very often. When I remember I was in the Roosevelt room with him at the White House, and he was entertaining a bunch of dignitaries from Italy during the Reagan administration. And all these Italians were sitting around the table. They spoke broken English, and Tommy was telling stories in broken Italian, and they had broken English. And when the President Reagan walked by and saw him in there, he came in and sat down for 40 minutes with Tommy. He neglected Peter Rousseau, the press secretary. He said, don't worry about the Rose Garden. I'll get there. I've got to stay here with Tommy. He just had that way. And it wasn't the president who talked during those 40 minutes. It was Tommy. and Reagan was captivated,
That's funny.
Talking to Bobby Valentine, we'll do some New York baseball in a few seconds. That's not about that today for Bobby, of course, because he lost a dear friend and mentor and really a father figure type in Tommy Lasorda. When you got the job to manage the Mets, Bobby, excuse me, I'm sure at some point you discussed it with Tommy. Do you remember what he had to say to you about taking the job, specifically the Met job, and what advice he might have given you if you go back that far?
Well, when I was 35 and I got the offer to manage the Rangers, he was the one I called, obviously. And I didn't even know where the Rangers played, to tell you the truth. They were in the American League and all that good stuff back then. And he said, I don't care if it's on Mars, you're being offered a major league manager's job. You take it. You do your best. It's not going to be your last job, but it's going to be your first job. And when I got the Met job, he said, hey, you're ready for this. The reason that you took those other jobs is to get you ready for this job, and he was spot on. He was totally spot on.
Did you take, and we all know how successful you were with the New York Mets as a manager, the pennant in 2000, all that. Are there aspects of your managerial style that you took and modeled yourself after Tommy Lasorda with?
Well, yeah, I wanted to know my players like he knew me when I was a player. I was at the hospital when Rafael Palmeiro's son was born, and I was at graduations when kids had graduation ceremonies, and I wanted to know and make sure that the wives were comfortable. I tried to make sure that the housing was done. And, Tommy was the first one to really do that stuff. I played for Walter Alston before Tommy got to the big leagues, and Walter called me Billy for 2 years. He introduced me at welcome home dinners as Billy Valentine, and he didn't care that my name was Bobby Valentine. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because there were a bunch of Billies on the team. And Tommy he wrote the saying that now people use, and that is that the players don't care what you know until they know that you care, okay? And that I always tried to tell the players and show the players, as Tommy did, that I cared.
And if the story's right, I mean, all those, like the last 20 years he was the manager of the Dodgers, it was always a one-year deal. Like nobody would do that today, right?
Oh, no one would do it today. And let the truth be told, I was with him, excuse me, when he had a wonderful multi-year offer offered to him to manage another team, and he turned it down. And he didn't have the 1 year yet from the Dodgers. His season was over.
Right.
He's in the winter meetings, and he turned down, and he did that multiple times for more money and more years.
Wow.
And yet, the thing about Tommy, he's married to Joe now for 70 years. When he left the hospital, when people said there's no way he'll ever get out of this hospital room, he got out of that hospital room this time because he was going to die with his wife of 70 years at home. And that's what he did. He was a loyal dude.
Yeah.
This guy, he was loyal to the bitter end.
I could not imagine Tommy Lasorda wearing any other jersey. I mean, the idea of him managing, whomever, the Mets, the Padres, whatever, that just seems so crazy, and I'm glad it never happened.
Well, you picked him to be on your staff for an All-Star game, right? Was it the one in Seattle, I think, right?
Well, we had never been in uniform together as major leaguers, because I got traded in 73 and he got to the big leagues in 73 as a coach under Walt Alston. And so when I got the honor to manage the All-Star game in Seattle in 2001, I asked the commissioner for special permission to add one more coach. Tommy had been retired, and he came back, and that's the only game we were ever in uniform in a big league ballpark together.
You mentioned his wife. That's got to be a special woman. He must have been a lot to handle, and the amount of time they spent together, and I just imagine you have great reverence for her as well.
Oh, and understand this one. She wasn't Italian. She was from Greensboro, South Carolina, where they met when he was playing in A-ball. Okay? She moved to California in 1952, and they lived in the same house to this day. Tommy lived until yesterday in the same house since 1952 with her. She's a really special gal.
Talking to Bobby Valentine, just telling stories of the memory of Tommy Lasorda. We'll do some baseball in one sec. Did you ever sit and talk to him about the Gibson home run in '88, and what was going through his mind, and how obviously how fortunate he was that Gibson hits the home run? Did he ever walk you through what he was thinking and why he did it?
Well, never said why he did it, because we knew, why he did it, because he made people rise to occasions that they never would be able to rise to. I remember we had a guy named Randy Smith in rookie ball. He stepped on a bee in a picnic before the game. He came to the ballpark and his foot was all swollen, and the stinger was in his foot. Mm-hmm. And the trainer got a real hot pail of water and told him to put his foot in the pail of water. And Randy wouldn't do it. It was too hot. And Tommy took off his shoe and took off his own sock, and Tommy put his foot in the water. When his foot came out, it looked like a lobster, but he kept it in there to show Randy that he had to do it so that he could play right field. And sure enough, he put his foot in there, started in right field, and got a home run to win our game. That was legendary for Tommy.
And
to get a guy who was 0 for 9 with 8 strikeouts to hit in the ninth inning against the guy that struck him out the last 8 times, get a single to right field to win the game.
And it's funny, that Kirk Gibson moment against Eck, like I think of Tommy Lasorda's celebration afterwards. Like that's a big part of the image of that moment is him, pretty much representing every Dodger fan with their reaction to one of those epic moments in baseball history.
With hands over his head.
Yes.
And here's one other little thing. I was with him at the World Series. We brought him out. We had a suite and all that stuff. And one of the guys in the suite with us was Rick Honeycutt, who played for Tommy and also played against Tommy in that World Series. He was playing for the A's as one of the relief pitchers, as you remember, with Eckersley and all. And Honey said, everyone talks about Gibby's home run. But what really won that series for the Dodgers was that Tommy put the hit and run on 18 times during that series. And 16 times, the guy either went first to third or they stayed out of the double play, and that's what Honeycutt and the A's thought won that World Series. And Tommy never gets credit for being a good manager. He was a really good field manager, but because he was so good off the field, people discredited what he did on the field.
You almost become a caricature of yourself, and people stop seeing you for the genius you are when you make decisions. Did the stars love him? Garvey, Say, Lopez, did those guys love him? Oral, or was he more beloved by the lesser known guys, like the lunch pail type guys?
No, the stars loved him. Even Reggie Smith, when he came over from the Red Sox, was a big part of his team. He loved him. Fernando loved him. Nomo loved him. Chan Ho Park loved him. There were a couple guys who wanted to, have all the attention, I think. And I think Garv and Tommy might have gotten to a place as, who's the number one there for a while, and there might have been a little rift, but no. When Tommy was throwing batting practice to everyone, and remember, Tommy threw batting practice every day for 25 years of his life. Every day that he was in uniform, he took an hour to throw batting practice. He threw from the mound, guys. He threw from the rubber, and he threw with a windup, and he threw curveballs and fastballs. Okay, and that was all part of folklore. The image.
Talking to Bobby Valentine, we're just breaking up there a little bit with Bobby on the phone.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. Yeah, we got you now. I hear you. Some guys, especially today. Maybe I guess I don't want to be old school about it, but I think the athlete has changed dramatically in the last quarter century, where, I wonder how Tommy would have managed today.
Well, the job of the manager has changed.
Yeah,
think about that.
I'm dealing with I'm talking about egos and, God forbid, you turn off the superstar, or, you take him out of a game where you don't play him where he wants to be played. And I imagine that Tommy probably still would have cut through all that, which a lot of guys don't.
Guys, with some, there's all individuals, but I mean, I just got off the phone with his wife and his family, and Eric Karros was at the home. Eric was a star on those teams, and he got to Tommy's house today because, of that. Oral's going to stop by. Charlie Huff, who played for him, loved him and is stopping by. So, there were a few who probably didn't like his shtick, but his shtick was pretty good, let me tell you what.
Before we let you go, obviously, quick baseball. I know you watched it, you saw it. What are your thoughts on Steve Cohen and the Mets pulling one off in the middle of the night and getting Francisco Lindor for the Mets?
I don't know how, Jared and Steve and Sandy sleep at night, because they have to be so excited about the opportunity that they've been given working for Stevie Cohen. And the Met fans have got to be even more excited. That was amazing trade. It's one of those ones, well, if we could only do this, we'd be okay, and they did this. I'm really excited about
Well, it reminds a lot of us as Met fans, I know the timing is very different, of the Piazza trade. I mean, that was, middle of May when that happens, but a feeling of things are different now because a superstar like this was just acquired. Do you sense similarities to that from the Piazza trade?
Absolutely. And the fact that it's a pretty good team that needed a little boost.
Right.
Then, and this is a pretty good team that needed that little extra boost, and I think they're going to get it.
Before I let you go, how's everyone doing? Family well? Everyone healthy and getting
Thank
through
you,
all the
Bob.
COVID stuff,
Yeah.
Bob?
And you too? Everything okay?
Yeah, we're blessed. Yeah, I have two who are going back to college. My daughter went back 2 days ago. My son goes back next week, and then I got a 10th grader and a 9-year-old who's about to be 30. So,
I listen and I hear all that, and I think it's cool. You got a lot of friends up at Sacred Heart University who listen to you religiously. I keep telling them they're supposed to be working because they're coaches, but they love your show. You guys are doing a great job, and this time of the day, I guess, is a little low because you get quoted almost every day. And how much? And you had that other Italian, Scaramucci, on the other day, too. And
Yep.
that excited all my staff.
And
because his son played lacrosse at our university.
Oh, is that right? I did not know that. All right.
Yeah,
See, there's always a connection. There's always a connection on how many times you cut it. Well, listen, I look forward to seeing you again once COVID allows that to happen. Say hi to the guys at Sacred Heart, please, and to your family. And I always appreciate your support. And I look forward to talking to you again under better circumstances for sure.
Stay safe and healthy. Thanks, guys.
All right, Bobby Valentine, everybody. Just walk down memory lane a little bit for the passing of 93-year-old Tommy Lasorda. And Bobby's the best. Always love Bobby.
Baseball royalty, Tommy Lasorda. Celebration of life, really, when you think about everything he saw and everything he accomplished during his long career.